and welcome to Third Eye Thinkers. I am your host, Michelle Welch.
Hi, I'm your host, Megan Benanti. Thanks for joining us today.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. And you?
Good. A little warm.
Yeah, it's hot here in Texas. It's really hot these days.
It's a heat wave, I believe.
Yeah.
I think they said the heat index is the highest it's been since 2011, I think.
Oh,
Or
nice.
it's going to contend with 2011. I think before that it was like 1981 was like a huge heat wave. So, yes, it's very warm.
Yeah, I was just glad we had rain last week. So.
Yeah, and I like the weather here. I'm from Texas.
Right.
Have you lived here your whole life?
I'm originally from Maryland, and I moved here when I was 11. So I grew up in this for the most part. I even spent summers here when I was, younger than that. So, so it's home. I can handle the heat.
Yeah.
So.
I can handle
ladies,
it too.
I'm gonna have to interrupt. Michelle, I need you to kind of scoot a little bit because you're actually covered by the microphone. Somehow, how you ended up seating, you're covered by microphone. So you have to go towards your right a little bit. There we go.
Way?
Perfect.
Okay.
That's we're good.
There we go. All right. I don't know what happened with that.
Slight adjustment.
All right. Okay. So today we decided, I think we were talking a lot just individually about a lot of healing work we've been doing, and personal healing we've been working on, and different healing modalities that we do.
Right.
And so we decided to do our show today on different types of energy work, specifically healings.
Yeah, healing energy work, and that's kind of a broad term because there's all types of modalities of healing work, and but it's been coming up a lot, and we are seeing a trend in growth in this. I know when I started doing healing work, I was like giving it away because people were so unaware of what that is, and so we just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of education about that and kind of what you can look for and what to expect and sort of some different experiences.
Maybe why don't we talk, before we talk about our herb and our crystal, why don't we just give a little definition of what we think it is within this context before we just dive into what the crystals and the herbs are. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So for me, it's interesting because I'm a little bit hesitant with the word healing, first of all, just because of the legalities of that.
Oh,
so
of course. Yeah.
I kind of, but then when you talk to people who are like massage therapists or they get licensed for things, and we're here in Texas, every state's different, but they are a little hesitant with the word therapy. So people are a little bit different with whatever word they use. So owning the store Soultopia and having healers or therapists, I kind of always go back and forth, and I kind of settle with the word energy work, but we still have all over our website healers. And it's interesting because I was talking at one point, the Better Business Bureau called, and they were like, okay, you're the only metaphysical store that we've talked to that we think we want to have. And I don't know. I don't know if they really meant that or if that was the sales department, but we really were, considering they were going to put us, in the Better Business Bureau for Dallas, and we were the only metaphysical store. But I thought it would be the readings and all the tarot that they might have concern with. Actually, it was the healing, and maybe it was the other way around. It was one they were concerned with and one that they really weren't concerned with, and then they wanted us to change all the words. And so I think it's an interesting thing to talk about because for a while, any type of alternative method of healing, even think about when people would think chiropractors were strange,
Right.
or even acupuncturists.
Yep.
And so Reiki now is which is a form of energy healing. It's hands off healing. It's considered laying on hands, but you really don't touch anyone.
Right.
You use your energy. You can touch in Reiki sometimes, but it's an energy modality of healing it's used in a lot of hospitals. And one of the reasons it's so powerful and useful is because somebody who's been through a lot of trauma, or they're a burn victim, they can't be touched because they have maybe burns all over their whole body.
Yeah.
Or they've been so traumatized they don't want to be touched.
Yeah.
It's a great way to be healed. There's all kinds of energy modalities. For me, I just did a Reiki attunements this weekend for some people that were in from out of town. They were in from South Dakota. And I consider that kind of like the piano or the violin of the groundwork, the beginning of, not that it's inferior, but
Right.
it's the groundwork for any other modality of energy work. I don't know how you feel about that, but it's just sort of the beginning point because it is so accepted now.
Right. Well, and I think energy work is something that's really evolved immensely. And so the people that are doing it are becoming more and more experienced at it. It's sort of like when people first started doing yoga, they were really basic poses, and now you have people getting into these like, weird sort of contraptions or contortions. And but that's, their body has gotten to that level that it can move in that direction, and the same kind of work is happening with this healing work. It's interesting. It's not traditional. This type of work has been around for eons, though. I mean, you think about your old medicine man, your doulas before,
Shamans, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of old school medicine and what they did. It's not a perfect science. It's going to work differently every time it's done. One of my, for me, my experience with it, is it all right if I just talk about that real quick?
Absolutely.
So when several years back, when I was like 35, I had breast cancer. And so I came out of surgery, and there was a healer here in Dallas who's not here anymore, Farrell Humphrey. And she said, I want to give you 4 sessions to help you with your healing process. And I said, great, let's go for it. So she would just come to my house, and I laid on my bed, and I didn't know what she was doing. I was honestly too weak to even care. And so she literally just worked within my energy field, and I could feel where she was working because that part of my body would heat up. And so you can really create heat. And then, so I felt, I had remarkable healing from all my surgeries and stuff. And I really accredited her work for being part of that, in helping to align my chakras and helping that energy to flow through my system. Because when you have a surgery and things are removed, your body on a cellular level, it's grieving. And those, it's trying to reassimilate. It's like, okay, we're missing organs. What do we do now? And so to have somebody kind of basically pulling and pushing that energy around and making things connect better is going to really speed up the healing process. So for me, it was awesome. But I don't think you just have to be sick. I think, we can all use work sometimes on our energy level, whether that's physically feeling fatigued or we're stressed out. And it's like, okay, you build up pressure. So like, let's take the lid off and open up that pressure cooker so you can relax. So that's
the holistic system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's thinking of it in the holistic system. And Reiki, ki means the life force, just in Japanese, just as it does in Chinese, it's your chi. So it's your life force. And so we're working on that chi or that ki, just like all the body parts. Not body parts, but our whole auric system. So all of our subtle bodies, like you mentioned, our mental body, our spiritual body, our physical body, our emotional body.
Yep.
All those go together. And I think that, as you said, it's been around for eons. The Western medicine is newer, and I use an approach of both. I tell people if they come to me, I certainly don't ever tell someone to replace anything that I'm doing with their, I say this all the time on the show, on my podcast. You don't replace this with going to your doctor. Clearly, you had your surgery, and then Farrell, who's wonderful.
Yeah, she's pretty
Thank
awesome.
you for introducing me to her. She helped you recover from what your Western doctors did for you.
Right.
And then she stepped in and helped with your healing. So that's a beautiful thing, how all of that came together and was combined.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
really life changing too, because it inevitably it changed the direction that my life was going to go after that as well. So,
So I can tell you guys that on one of the podcasts, I don't know which number it is. I was wearing a white shirt. I do remember that. I came here and I was in the front lobby, in the front part of outside of the studio, and I was not feeling well. And Megan is a wonderful healer and a wonderful energy worker. Not only is she just a fantastic reader, she reads for me personally, but she's also a fantastic healer. And I got here and I just did not feel well at all. And in fact, I believe when we were in New York City, it was the same thing. And you worked on me, if you recall.
I think I did.
I did not
yeah.
feel well,
Uh-huh.
and you were working on me.
Okay. Yeah,
And then I
remember
was here and you were working on me. Turns out we did the show. I really don't know how. I looked back at it and I watched it and I was like, wow, that was pretty good for an hour later being in the emergency room with a kidney stone.
Yeah.
That was, did you not know that, Anna? Yes. I was an hour later after that show. I think you were out. I think you
I had
were.
no idea.
I think you were out of the country.
She was.
But an hour
Wow.
later, yes. And so Megan worked on me. And it's the only way I know for a fact that is the only way her energy work is the only way I was able to do the show. Because within 30 minutes, actually within about 15 minutes before I was in here and 15 minutes after the show, I was screaming in pain, like literally screaming.
Oh, wow.
15 minutes before I came in here and 15 minutes after.
That's
but the
crazy.
energy work that you did, was the reason that I was able to make it and then go and get a little bit of assistance at the doctor's office because I really didn't know what it was. And then they
Right.
quickly determined what it was.
Well,
So-
and when you were doing the show, like she didn't show it at all. I was like, oh, she's fine now. Okay, great.
It's like, oh, you're so tough. Oh, no. I'm a total wimp. I'm the biggest baby. It was that energy work. So it really is amazing. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about this energy work
Yeah.
and this healing. I do so Megan does amazing healings. I do a healing called a stellar gateway healing. It's where we have our chakras that are in our bodies. We know about the 7 main ones, but we really actually have 88,000 chakras. In our hands alone, we have a whole bunch, and those connect to our heart chakra. In our feet, we have a whole bunch, and those connect to our root chakra. But then we have all these meridians and ley lines, right? And then we have transpersonal chakras that are outside of our body, and that's where I work. And I work on our karmic residue because a lot of people will say, well, that's just your karma. Nothing you can do about it. You're just stuck with that karma. And a lot of healers and readers will say that. And I don't agree with that. I don't ascribe to that. That doesn't resonate
I
with
don't
me
either.
personally. So the healing that I do is I work on the transpersonal chakras in the stellar gateway area where we hold that karmic residue. And so anybody's holding on to some things, karmic residue that no longer serves them, I help clear that. It has to do with cutting of cords, but it's also from past lives
Okay,
or maybe even
interesting.
future lives or karma that we need to deal with. So that's what it's called the stellar gateway healing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So and I do other kinds, Reiki and things like that too, and
Yeah.
balance chakras but that stellar gateway was given to me, and I really didn't think I wanted to do healings at all. I was like, oh, really? It's like, that's not my thing. But that particular one is the one that I really work on. And medical intuitive things also. Clearly, you do medical intuitive work. So
Yeah.
what herb did you bring today?
Oh, I brought Echinacea, which many people have heard of. And Echinacea is a really cool flower. So it's also called coneflower, and it kind of looks like a daisy, but it's a pinkish purplish color, and it does have a lot of different cultivars. So you can get ones that are all pink. I recently purchased some that were like oranges and reds and yellows, really cool. Rabbits love this stuff though, so I have a very hard time growing them because my rabbits always munch it down. I mean, leaves, stem, everything, so the plant dies.
They're pretty though.
Oh yeah, they're really pretty. They're great in your landscape, and then they of course have great healing properties. And so Echinacea is one of our go-tos if you're dealing with inflammation or infection, whether that's bacterial or viral. So anything from the common cold, allergies, flu, or anything that's infectious. It comes in capsule form. They use both the leaves and the stems. and the roots. And it's going to help stimulate
So
your
it sounds like they use pretty much the
whole
whole
plant except the
so
flower.
nothing's wasted, and the flower,
Right.
of course, is the beautiful thing that's used just for the beauty. So
Yeah,
nothing's
basically you can
wasted.
cut the flower and then grind up the rest.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's great. Nothing's wasted.
yeah. So it's going to stimulate your white blood cells, and so that's going to, help your both your immune system and your lymphatic system. And like if you've ever had cancer and you've had lymph nodes removed, that can be a good one to help stimulate that. Can be a little bit of a contradiction if you've got if you're allergic to sunflowers or ragweed, and so that's one to kind of watch out for. But just, as with any kind of supplements, check with your physician first and make sure that it's acceptable for you. But generally, if you're looking at kind of like a cold remedy in the natural path section, it's probably going to have echinacea in it, or you can just buy a direct echinacea. So what'd you
Really
bring for a
interesting.
crystal?
So I didn't bring the crystal, but I'm introducing to you today a crystal called Prehnite. It is spelled Prehnite. Sometimes I have to write to spell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Prehnite. Prehnite. A lot of crystals end in ite, and people will think that means some, special metaphysical thing. All the ones that end in ite mean this or that. That's not true. I'm just, well, it may be for them, it may be for you, but typically if you did that, you'd be doing that for you're going to lump a whole lot together, because a lot of them do in ite or nite. There's a lot of lites, nites.
Right.
But Prehnite, I do have a picture, but for those of you watching, but for those of you not, it's a really kind of minty green.
It's beautiful.
And it's got some little sparkly greens within it. It's kind of translucent. And the reason I chose it today is because it's great. It's a real high ascension stone. What I mean by that is it's a high vibrating stone. It's you can really feel it in your hands. So it's great, and green is great for healing.
Yep, that's
And
my
it's
color
great
for healing.
Yeah, and it's great for growth. I will say one thing about that in a second. Remind me about the growth.
Okay.
But it's also a stone that is known to help what we call light workers or energy workers. So it is a healing stone for the healers.
Nice.
So I would suggest anyone who considers themselves a healer should have the stone. And because I believe we're all self-healers, that means we should all have a Prehnite.
Absolutely.
And they're not expensive. So a lot of high ascension stones, moldavite, covalite, they're quite expensive, or they can be. Prehnite's not at all.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah, it's very affordable, $6-7.
Okay.
Maybe $4, $5, depending on the size, but a pretty good size of it. It's very affordable in the tumbled form. And so the growth, when I was talking about growth, so green is very associated with healing and the heart chakra. It's also, for those of you who connect with archangels, Archangel Raphael is known to be the archangel for healing. And he is considered to be like an emerald green aura color, emerald green.
Like malachite.
Exactly. And so malachite's great for healing too, and great for pain. And so the green is for that also. But the thing about the green with growth that sometimes some people consider when you were speaking of cancer is that when people come in and they'll ask, what's a good crystal to give somebody that's going through cancer, I sometimes steer clear of the green stones, only because of this. If this resonates with people, you can take it or leave it, but I've read it and it kind of made some sense to me, because green is growth.
Right.
Okay, so that's not to put fear in anyone. If you have green crystals, don't get all scared or anything, but just because of that, and because I've read it in several sources, I thought, okay, it's something to consider. And you just have to meditate on that yourself and see if that resonates, whether or not that's something you want to, give somebody a green crystal or not. But it's just something to think about.
Right.
Because green is associated with growth.
Right. And you want to, of course, with cancer, you're dealing with rapid growth. So,
Right.
yeah, you want to diminish that. That's really interesting. And yeah, I would definitely take that into consideration too, because there's so many good crystals in general that I would think there's other options as well.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So Prehnite is the healer's crystal, and we're all self-healers. A lot of times we need somebody to help us
yeah,
with that
but
healing.
I love that.
Yeah. So, heal yourself. Most of us who have, whether we're readers or we're healers, we're helping that person learn to heal, to perform self-healing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And that's the goal, and even as a reader, one of the things I realized that I am versus what I am not, because it does take you sort of continually redefine yourself. Like, I read really well for people who want to help themselves. I am not a great reader for people who just want to, I just want to know the future. I don't really care about myself. I just want to know what's going to happen. And I'm like, oh, but you're so a part of that. Like,
Right.
I for me, it's like I'm reading to help this person live the best life they can live.
So in your readings, you're a healer. You're an energy
yeah,
worker.
It comes in all directions.
It does.
That's what I'm meant to do.
It does. And I agree
I know
with
you read
that.
the same way.
And I agree with that. I feel like it's kind of the point, right?
Right.
It's the
I
journey.
think so. So
it's why else are we here?
right. Yeah. I mean, if you just had a timeline of this is going to happen here, and this is going to happen here, and this is going to happen here, I don't think that I'd be as excited about that, because it sounds so like you don't have any influence in that, and you have control. You can make these choices.
Yeah.
So
We have the free will to course correct.
yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything we've left out that's glaring about energy? Work?
It's going to have a lot of different names. Like the one I was trained in is called Blue Lotus Heart Qigong, which is like a mouthful, but it has similarities in some ways to Reiki. So there's going to be different names of modalities out there. There's not one that's necessarily better than another. Part of it is just the practitioner and how much of experience they've had, what their natural propensity is, how much they trust themselves when they do it. You just have to kind of, as a healer, you have to go for it with confidence that oh, I know I can make a difference on this person. I don't know what's going to show up in them today, but I'll help them with whatever I can. So,
And I agree with that. I think it's not always the modality or the name. It's
Right.
You're often drawn to the healer. You're drawn to their energy. Are you in alignment? If you're looking for a healer, I'm in alignment with Megan. She soothes me. That is something that I'm drawn to. She's very soothing, and I need that. I tend to be a little bit high strung. Now, when somebody comes to me for a Raziel's who I channel for my Stellar Gateway healings, that's a very subtle, but a very high vibration healing. So it doesn't mean I'm hyper during that healing, but it is working on some stuff that is a little more esoteric,
Right.
a little more, some secretive knowledge that I don't even know about, really. And I'm like, what? And so, but it's not necessarily this super soothing. So it's what you're drawn to and what you're needing at that time.
Right.
Is the healer that you're going to go to. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's who you're, it's not necessarily the modality, because many of them are really, it's the same. It's energy work.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them it's the same under different names.
Exactly. Yeah. And you will find if you even try out different healers, they totally have different energies and vibes. And I find they all feel good, but it's just very different,
Very different.
So.
Right. And the only thing I would say is if someone does, if anyone does make you feel uncomfortable in any way, that's not a healer for you.
Yes.
Yes, that's just not, that's not something that I would agree with, and that would just be something you just want to find another healer.
Right.
And that's something I
It
would
should
just say.
feel really pleasant. You're usually dressed. It's not, there's nothing that should feel violating about it. Usually you kind of go into a really deep sort of trance-like sleep. Sometimes you'll just go to sleep. Sometimes you'll feel heat. Sometimes you'll feel tingling, or you'll feel you'll feel a twitch, or something weird. But it's definitely not anything that's unpleasant. So you want to make sure you're having a really good experience with it. So
And with I do use the crystals because I certified crystal healing, and I do teach that too. And so the crystals, people may place the crystals on you, but in that you're always fully dressed. The only way you wouldn't be is if somebody's a massage therapist and you're getting a massage with
Right.
that. I don't know of any healer that would have you disrobe unless they are a certified massage therapist. Do you?
actually, I just did this week. So,
So I
Michelle was so kind. She said, offered me healing. And it was so funny because I had literally just booked with someone and that I had seen before, Jennifer Waltz, who's also a wonderful healer, but she does acupuncture and cupping.
Acupuncture.
And so I got down to my undies. And
Well,
so,
that makes sense. Acupuncture and cupping, but I kind of
Right.
count those in with like
right. So we did
massage
that
and that type of stuff.
Reiki on top of it.
Right.
So, and
So
it was
those
really cool.
sorts of things. But if it's just energy healing, Reiki, crystal therapy, things like that, then
Right.
you're going to be fully clothed.
And I, of course, had a blanket on me like you do with massage. It wasn't like I was just all out there. So,
But it's becoming more and more accepted. And if you guys have any further questions on that, we're more than happy to answer those for you guys.
oh yeah, please, you can post them on the
Post
Facebook.
them,
yeah,
and we will get to those at some point. Let's do some readings today so we don't run out of time.
Yeah.
We're only going to be able to do one reading.
We talk so much, don't we?
Very short reading. Because
Okay, let's do it. Let's
Okay.
do a charm reading for everybody.
Okay.
Let's do a general charm
So,
reading.
all right, pull 2 of these out.
Random.
Just random.
I'm going to pull fast so we don't waste time.
Okay. Yep. So, what we've got here is a mask, and we have a skull and crossbones. Sorry.
Wow.
With hearts.
What did I draw?
With hearts for eyes. And so, so either you're going to pick the mask or you're going to pick the skull and crossbones. And then from that, we're going to do 2 readings, one on each. And then whichever one you chose is going to have the kind of the answer or the insight for the week for you. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to do 2 cards for each. And Michelle, I'm going to let you start with the reading aspect. Okay. So here is skull and crossbones. We have 8 of wands, and we have a 6 of swords in reverse. Okay. So that's skull and crossbones. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to pull it closer to me. Sorry if the camera can't see it, but my eyes can't see this.
It's a very.
I've got to see. All right. And I
Small
feel
images.
rushed, but I am going to just take a little time. I'm sorry. All right. So first of all, I'm going to read this charm just by itself. I love that there's hearts on this skull and crossbones. We're talking about healing today.
Right.
And I immediately was drawn to the fact that sometimes we have to do some things that don't feel so good, that almost feel a little toxic to get rid of toxins in our body. Now, that doesn't mean they're bad for us, but let's say a cleansing and it just doesn't feel so good. All right. And or even some things that where we're digging deep into some things we've been through in life to then heal our some things that even may be affecting us physically.
Right.
So I'm getting that and then it will lead us to a happier place overall.
Right.
In our healings. And I do get that as we do that, we will begin to take our power back in general. But when we try to hide from the things that feel toxic or feel poisonous to it in our lives, and we try to, I know that mask isn't supposed to come into it, but it is. It's sneaking over into my reading. When we try to mask those feelings and try to mask from that, that's when we do get sick and we stuff those feelings and it comes into comes out in an illness in our body, a
Right.
physical illness.
Okay, cool. So what I'm seeing with this is the hearts for eyes are saying, despite something that can kind of be ugly on the outside, you got to look at things from a place of love right now. And it's going to be an extremely busy week. I want you to be really careful with that communication. We're already working into that Mercury retrograde energy. So, cross your T's, dot your I's, and don't forget to hit send on your emails. It is going to be progressively more challenging this week. So do try to get your extra rest because I feel like that's going to be an issue looking at this image here. and stay organized. But don't give up all that organization to, give up your sleep just to stay organized. I do want to make sure you're getting enough sleep. That's more about going to bed early versus sleeping in late, because you need to be on the ball when it's time to go to work. All right, so for our mask, we have King of Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune. So if you pick the mask, this reading is for you. Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. You go ahead.
Okay. So the first thing I picked up with the mask, to me, that read breathing mask. And I don't know about anybody else. It's interesting. We were just talking about healing because I've had a little cold recently, and a really intense cough. So to me, that's like needing to take in oxygen. This particular mask, though, really represents protection of the face. And so maybe that's protecting your facial expressions and how you're feeling about things right now. And you don't necessarily want people to just read you like a book. So kind of keep that in mind. King of Pentacles, work is going to be a dominant force, and that a lot of strength there for you, and that you're going to really want to focus and grow in your job. And in fact, there might be some of you that feel like you're outgrowing your job right now, because I've got this guy like bursting out of a tree. And so it might be that, you're ready for that promotion or to go to the next level. Also, Wheel of Fortune, that's direct. That's moving forward quickly and having that strength and that power there. I do feel like it is going to be stirring up a little bit of pollens right now, so you might be dealing with a bit of an itchy nose or some mucus in there too. I don't know if it's coming out, but really positive time. And for you, your energy is going to be good, and you're like on that up cycle and just kind of riding through it.
I got that too. I got a lot of just bursting forth with energy if you do put on a bit of protection, a protective mask, and especially in the job. There is an opportunity that's coming up for you if you did choose this mask or this charm. There's a lot. He's literally bursting, or she is bursting out of that tree, and it's interesting because that pentacle looks actually like a fruit to me.
It looks like an orange.
It looks like an orange. So I'm also getting to take care of your health during this time, because a lot of people are having a lot of problems with their health right now because of the heat or whatever is going on. And at the same time, with the Wheel of Fortune, I'm still getting from this card, make sure as you're bursting forth with all this energy and all these good things that are coming into your life, that you're staying grounded. Make sure that you're staying grounded and staying rooted and not losing sight of who you really, really are.
Oh,
the true
really
you.
Great point on that. Yeah, I see where she's drawing that from. That looks awesome. Okay, so we hope you guys enjoyed that and that you connected with a reading. Please let us know your comments. And keep thinking with your third eye. Thanks.